Hello there and welcome to Sleepy Tales by John. I'm so glad that tonight, among all the movements and noises out there, you found a quiet little corner to pause, to breathe just a bit slower, and to let your mind drift away from the weight of the long day behind you. Tonight, we'll gently step into one of the most beautiful, most delicate ideas humanity has ever tried to understand: space-time. That invisible fabric every star leans on to shine, every planet follows as a pathway, and every heartbeat in your chest quietly harmonizes with. In this place, the vast universe becomes a soft sheet, stretched across everything, supporting every action, every memory, every tiny step we take. It bends near matter, stretches where the universe expands, and hums with the echoing waves of colliding black holes. Even the air around you belongs to its boundless design. And if these gentle journeys help ease your heart a little, I invite you to take a moment to like the video, subscribe, or leave a soft thought below. It helps other tired souls find this quiet corner of the night. For now, take a slow, deep breath. Let your eyelids fall like two tiny doors, and allow the universe to softly cradle your final thoughts of the day. Now then, shall we begin? The story begins to form when space and time are no longer two separate ideas, but melt into each other like two pale colors, dissolving into the same flowing stream. Imagine that what appears before you is a massive ribbon, so long you can't find where it begins, nor where it ends. The ribbon doesn't sit still. It flows like water, curls like smoke, and glows faintly like moonlight resting on a lake on a windless night. If you reach out with your imagination and try to touch it, you'll notice it's not cold like metal, not smooth like real silk, but soft like a thin mist your hand can pass through without disturbing it at all. That is the essence of space-time, both tangible and untouchable, something you can picture but never hold. Long ago, we believed space was simply where things were placed, and time was a steady clock we could read to know how it flowed. But then, the universe tilted ever so slightly, and those old definitions suddenly felt too small. Space and time don't stand beside each other like two separate friends. They merge like two rivers meeting, sweeping forward in the same direction, woven into a single presence we call space-time. Now imagine looking at that ribbon from very, very close. You see delicate waves running along its length, like endless breaths stretching across eternity. Each time the ribbon twists, the time within it shifts a little. In one spot, it flows faster. In another, it slows down like a sleepy snail. All of this happens without a sound, just soft, quiet transitions you'd never notice unless you truly paid attention. Within that ribbon, whenever matter appears, a star, a planet, even your own body, the surface begins to sink inward, not pulled by a force, but simply by presence. Imagine placing a small pebble on a stretched piece of fabric. The cloth dips. A grain of sand nearby would slowly roll toward the pebble without anyone pushing it. That is how gravity works. Not a hand pulling things together, but the gentle curves of the fabric guiding every motion. The sun doesn't pull the earth. The earth simply follows the curve the sun creates in the ribbon. Like a leaf drifting around the whirl of a river. And along this same ribbon, time itself becomes something far softer than the ticking of a clock. Near massive objects, a star, a planet, time flows slower, as if you were walking down a valley and time's footsteps became heavy and unhurried. Here's the beautiful part. Right now, in your own body, your head and your feet are living in two slightly different rhythms of time. The difference is tiny, too small for you to ever feel, but it's real. A reminder that we live inside a universe far more delicate than we ever imagined. If you close your eyes for a moment, you might see yourself floating just above this ribbon. Not heavy, not weightless, just perfectly belonging. like a single thread in an enormous tapestry. Quiet, blended in, yet never lost. Imagine that each time you inhale, the ribbon rises ever so gently. And each time you exhale, it settles like the ocean at low tide. You and this four-dimensional ribbon are breathing together. No effort, no grasping, everything simply unfolding on its own. And as your mind begins to drift, softer, lighter, as though you're stepping into a journey, not with your feet, but with your stillness. From this foundation, we can go deeper into the story. Because if space-time is the fabric, then every motion in the universe, from the tiniest particle to the grandest galaxy, is a thread embroidered onto its surface. And to understand how these threads stretch, pulse, and swell through cosmic history, we'll need to step into the next part, a part more beautiful, more open, where every world is a blooming flower in the boundless garden we call the universe. And as that space-time ribbon keeps quivering softly beneath your breath, as the gentle curves of the cosmos ripple outward like calm water rings, we begin to see that matter is not the only thing shaping it. There is something else, an invisible finger, that can change the rhythm of time, bend space, and make reality far more fluid than we once believed. It appears whenever something moves, even the smallest thing, as if the universe tilts its head to listen to the footsteps of anything trying to go faster. Imagine, you're standing beside a very long river. This river isn't water, it's time itself, smooth, silent, flowing, like the breath of someone drifting into sleep. Now picture a small wooden boat floating on that river. No oars, no engine, simply drifting with the current. If the boat drifts slowly, the water beside it seems steady, gentle, unchanged. But the moment the boat begins to move faster, its edges cut through the current. And strangely, the water beside it seems to slow down, not because the river changes, but because time around the boat changes. In the real universe, this isn't a metaphor. It truly happens. The faster something travels, the slower time becomes, as though the universe holds everything in balance with a quiet, unseen rule. Astronauts in orbit, particles in accelerators, rapidly spinning stars, they all live in rhythms of time different from ours. Tiny differences, but differences nonetheless. A gentle reminder of the quiet beauty in physics. Time knows how to soften. It stretches and compresses with speed, like a fabric that breathes. If you close your eyes now, imagine yourself sitting in that little boat. Your hand rests on its side, feeling the cool flow of time slip beneath your fingertips. As you begin to move faster, not through muscle but through imagination, the river below doesn't flow the same anymore. It lingers, as though each droplet pauses to check itself before continuing on. Time around you becomes malleable, liquid, able to stretch or compress depending on how fast you're going. A fast-moving boat doesn't consume time. It's more like a person walking through fog. The faster they go, the thicker the fog grows, gently slowing them down. The universe behaves with a kindness of its own. To keep anything from outrunning the speed of light, it adjusts time like a mother placing a soft hand on her child's shoulder saying, "Slow down just a little." And when time slows, something else changes too. Length compresses. Don't let that idea trouble you. Picture it simply. When you whip a scarf quickly through the air, it shrinks back on itself, pressed by the wind. Objects in the universe behave the same way. When they travel near the speed of light, they become shorter in the direction they're moving, not in appearance, but in their actual structure, as though matter itself gently bends to the universe's quiet wish. In the same way, when you're tense, time seems to rush past. When you're being gently lulled to sleep, every moment stretches out, light as a spool of thread slipping softly from your hand. Time inside the human mind, strangely enough, is just like physical time. It always knows how to soften and how to listen. So tonight, As you lie there and allow yourself to drift along with this story, you're stepping into a state that's very close to the truth of the universe, a place where the very speed of your thoughts, your breath, your heartbeat is deciding how time flows inside you. Try slowing down just a little, and you'll feel as if the whole world around you begins to slow down with you. And from this very stretching and compressing of time, we begin to step deeper into even more wondrous things. Things which, from far away, look like curves in light, as if space itself were a great river and every galaxy were drifting within it. Now, if your mind has softened enough, if your eyelids feel a little heavier, and your breath has grown as light as smoke, then we can gently move into the next part where the universe reveals another secret. Gravity is not a pulling force, but the bending of the very river of space-time you're drifting in. All right then, as the little boat of time is still gliding quietly through your mind, as that river slows and widens with every breath you take, you may start to feel that you're not just drifting on time, but floating in a much greater ocean. An ocean whose waves are not only the ripples of speed, but the soft curves of the universe itself. Beyond the idea that time stretches when we move, we step into a deeper layer, where space-time itself is not still, not flat, but bends under the weight of matter. Imagine placing your hand on the surface of the cosmic river and noticing that instead of being perfectly smooth, it dips slightly wherever there are heavy masses, like stars, planets, or even the Earth itself. Each little dip is what we call gravity. But in the universe's own storytelling, gravity has never truly been a pulling force. It is simply the river curving, and every object just slides along those curves, like tiny leaves carried by a gentle whirlpool, without any string tugging at them. When you look up at the night sky and see the planets circling the sun, you might imagine an invisible hand holding them in place. In reality, the entire solar system is sitting on a slightly sunken patch of space-time, and each planet is simply drifting around inside the sun's gravity valley, like specks of dust swirling in a quiet eddy of water. Try picturing a drop of light, a tiny photon, stretching itself across the sky. If nothing lies nearby, that drop of light will travel straight, like a thin arrow slicing through the night. But if it passes close to a massive star or a giant galaxy, its path bends, soft as a ribbon of silk brushed aside by the wind. That little photon isn't being pulled. It's just following the natural shape of the space-time floor beneath it. And you, and me, and every living creature, every grain of dust, are doing exactly the same. We're not truly being pulled down to the ground. We're simply sliding along the curve of the cosmic fabric, where Earth has created a small valley, just deep enough to cradle our bodies gently in its arms. If you're lying in bed right now, notice this. Sometimes, when we truly let go, it can feel as if our body isn't heavy at all, but slowly sinking into a soft, warm, infinite surface. That is the truest feeling of gravity, not a harsh, pulling force, but the universe's gentle invitation, saying, "Come, slide down here a little. It's safe here." In your imagination, place yourself at the center of a vast, transparent whirlpool. Within that whirlpool, planets drift around the sun like petals turning in slow circles. Farther out, our entire galaxy is drifting inside an even larger valley carved out by dark matter. Everything in the universe is following these curves, not because it's forced to, but because that's the most natural path to take. And the wonder is this: light, the fastest, lightest, purest thing, is also guided by those curves. If even light moves along the shape of space-time, then human beings can't possibly step outside those flowing lines. But that is not something to fear. On the contrary, it's as if we've been placed upon a great river so it can carry us, without effort, without struggle. You don't have to hold on to your place in the universe. The universe is holding you. Now, in the sky of your imagination, look upward for a moment. You see every star, every galaxy, every tiny mote of light. All of them are drifting, never truly still. Nothing stands absolutely motionless. Nothing is ever completely fixed. Everything is gliding along those gentle arcs of motion. And if you listen a little more closely, you'll notice that this movement feels like the vast breathing of the universe itself. When the universe inhales, the valleys deepen. When the universe exhales, the fabric smooths out, softens, and stretches wider. We are lying inside that breath, every second, every moment. And from these smooth curves of gravity, we can step into another chapter of the journey, a place where light, the purest thing in the cosmos, suddenly becomes an artist, painting arcs and illusions across the sky through a phenomenon so beautiful, so surreal. When we leave the gentle curves of space-time, where each motion glides like halos of light drifting across water, you may sense that ahead of us lies something deeper still, a hidden layer that only reveals itself to those willing to listen, very, very slowly. If the previous part felt like gently sliding across the surface of the cosmic fabric, then now you are stepping down one more rung, a ladder that leads directly into the depth of time. Not a depth you see with your eyes, but one your heart can feel when it brushes against a nearly unbelievable truth. Time does not flow the same everywhere. You can imagine yourself walking through a wide valley, where the ground dips down, soft as a giant hammock. Up near the ridge, everything seems ordinary. But when you step down into the deepest part, you begin to feel that the rhythm of everything around you grows thicker, slower, as if the air itself has turned into honey. Dense, warm, and heavy. The universe works just like this. Near large masses, a heavy planet, a huge star, or a distant black hole. Time slows down, not because it's tired, but because space-time there has been pulled down like the bottom of a well. And time, faithfully following the shape of space-time, can only flow along that curved path. Close your eyes for a moment and picture time as a glowing stream flowing along. On flat ground, the stream glides easily, playfully. But as it flows down into a deep valley, the water becomes thicker, slower, heavier. That is exactly how time behaves around massive objects in the universe. The incredible thing is, even across your own body, time is not flowing perfectly evenly. Your head, just a few dozen centimeters higher than your feet, is living in a slightly faster rhythm of time than your feet are. The difference is so small that no one could ever feel it. Yet it still exists, like a secret whisper the universe keeps for itself. If you could see time, it would look like a soft sheet of silk wrapping itself around planets and stars. That sheet sags wherever the mass is heavy, forming valleys that everything, even light, is drawn into. And time, like an obedient child, walks along the path that sheet has laid out. The closer you get to a massive object, the more you feel time slowing, almost as if it might stop. Near the surface of Earth, this effect is so weak that only scientists with precise instruments can measure it. But near a neutron star, a star no larger than a city yet heavier than our sun, a few minutes there could match many more minutes, even hours, in a calmer region of space. And as you approach a black hole, time seems to choke. For someone watching from far away, time at the edge of a black hole stretches out endlessly, as if the universe's clock suddenly hesitates. A person falling in wouldn't feel anything particularly strange. They'd continue living in their own personal flow of time. But to a distant observer, that person's image would lengthen, fade, slow, and finally appear to freeze. Try picturing that, but in a gentler tone. Like watching a falling leaf slow down as it passes through a colder layer of air near the ground. It's not the leaf that has changed. It's the space around it that makes its movement unfold differently. Near a black hole, time is that leaf. There is a very peculiar kind of beauty in this slowing. Not the beauty of color or shape, but the beauty of a deep truth. The universe is not rigid at all. It is soft, elastic, fluid, as though time itself were a great river that can be bent, stretched, even held in a near-still moment. If you rest your hand on your chest right now, gently, you can feel your heartbeat aligning with the flow of time. Not fast, not hurried, just a warm rhythm reminding you that you, too, belong to this universe. A small being woven from the same kind of threads that make up stars and black holes. Let your breath grow just a little longer. Breathe in, as if you're standing at the rim of a valley where time runs light and free. Breathe out, as if you're stepping down into the well of gravity, where time feels deeper, slower, fuller. This rhythm guides you into the very symphony the universe has been playing since the beginning. And when you listen closely, you'll hear within this slowing a whisper, not a whisper of sound, but of sensation. A feeling that tells you everything we call time is simply the way the universe tells its story. And in places heavy enough, that story is told more slowly, more deeply, more solemnly, like a lullaby that Mother Universe hums for her children. When you're ready, we'll step into the next part, where light, which seems so constant, also begins to bend along the soft curves of space-time, creating wonder so shimmering and strange, they make us forget that what we're seeing is only light being reshaped. After we've felt how time slows as it sinks into gravity's valleys, slow as a breath stretched across a cloudy afternoon, you may find yourself wondering, if time can bend, what about light? Can the fastest, purest, most unreachable thing we know also curve along space-time's folds? The answer is yes. And when it does, the universe becomes so magical that it feels as though you're gazing into a mirror not meant for this world. A mirror that doesn't reflect truth in straight lines, but in soft curves, like night water. Let your mind drift just a little further. Imagine yourself sitting beside a still lake where moonlight falls like silver threads. If you gently stir the water with the tip of your finger, the reflection instantly warps. The moon bends into a soft smile. The bright lines stretch out as if someone brushed a wet paint stroke across a sheet of glass. Light in the universe is just as gentle. It isn't a sharp blade cutting cleanly through the dark, but a flowing ribbon drifting across an invisible ocean. And when that ocean is curved by a galaxy, a cluster of stars, or a distant black hole, light does the only thing it can. It follows the curve. Open your imagination a little. You are standing in the middle of space, where there is no sound, no wind, nothing at all to distract you. In front of you is a giant galaxy, a whirlpool of hundreds of billions of stars, hanging in the dark like an ancient chandelier. And when light from another, more distant galaxy has to pass by that whirlpool on its way to your eyes, it doesn't travel straight. It's pulled, bent, stretched out. What is the result? You see faint arcs, soft, curved streaks of light like a gentle smile, and silver ribbons hanging at a tilt in the dark. It's so beautiful that people gave this phenomenon a very poetic name: gravitational lensing. There is no glass. There is no mirror. There is only gravity, the thing that has curved space-time, and light simply follows the path that space-time has woven. And this leads to something even more beautiful. Because light is bent, because the universe owns this giant, distorted mirror, we are able to see the darkest corners, the hidden galaxies, the regions of space so distant there is no way to look at them directly. Light stretched by gravity makes faint galaxies appear brighter, larger in our eyes, as if the universe were gently lifting a tiny distant glow a little closer so we can see it more clearly. It's like when you place a curved crystal in front of a candle. Suddenly, the candlelight becomes larger, more shimmering, as though it has moved closer to you than it really has. The universe does the same thing, but instead of crystal, it uses its own gravity. And instead of a candle, it uses ancient light from billions of light years away. Now imagine this. You're drifting in a space of deep night glue, not a solid black, but a soft blue, gentle and dim, like the darkness just behind a hillside at dusk. On that background, the arcs of light begin to appear. They are not sharp, not jagged, not harsh. They are like brush strokes from a painter who loves slow movements, silence, and the feeling of drifting. Each arc is the voice of a very distant galaxy. Each arc is a story stretched out over billions of years. Each arc is proof that light, even though it moves so fast it almost touches the absolute, still yields to the soft curves of space-time. And within that scene, you begin to feel something very strange. The universe is never rigid, never fixed, never truly straight. It is always flowing, always curved, always soft, like a shawl slipping over the shoulders of a quiet night. When you breathe in very slowly and exhale very gently, you may feel as if you're touching the beauty of that bent light. Not with your eyes, but with a feeling. The feeling that the universe still keeps strange mirrors, like the mirrors in a fairy tale, but instead of reflecting your face, they reflect things you never even knew existed. And as you drift more slowly through your own imagination, you begin to understand that those curved lines of light don't just help us look into dark regions. They also whisper this reminder. Everything, even the thing that seems the straightest and most absolute, can bend itself to follow the invisible. Light bends for gravity. People bend under their experiences. The soul bends under time. And space-time bends under the weight of heavy stars hanging in the dark. Everything is soft. Everything flows. Everything knows how to transform in order to keep on existing. And when you're ready to step into the next part, it is also the moment you're preparing to listen to one of the deepest secrets of the universe. Time can slow down not only because of gravity's valleys, but also because of the presence of even deeper places. Places from which light cannot escape. When we've just left the world of those arcs of light, the realm where the universe uses gravity to paint soft strokes across the sky, you may feel something very gentle. Light, which seemed invincible, turns out to be just a traveler, always bowing before the unseen curves of space-time. And from that feeling, a slow question glides in. If there are places where light can be bent so dramatically it changes shape, could there be places where light can never return? That question opens a small door in your mind, a door leading into the darkest regions of the universe. Let your breath grow a little deeper and then soften like a stream. You are coming close to one of the greatest mysteries humanity has ever tried to reach: black holes. But they are not as violent as people often imagine. Not raging whirlwinds, not erupting volcano mouths, not erupting chasms ready to swallow everything. In the landscape of tonight, a black hole is simply a dark lake, flat, still, and so deep that time around it almost freezes. Right before you, that lake is so calm it looks like black glass, with no ripples, no reflections. Light touches its surface and, instead of bouncing back, it slides inward, as if someone were gently inviting it through a door that cannot be refused. To picture it more easily, you might think of it like this. At the center of a black hole is the singularity, a place where all our physical understanding falls silent. Space is bent so intensely it loses shape, and time is squeezed tight, like a piece of thread pulled to its final limit. Surrounding it is the event horizon, that strange boundary which, once crossed, allows nothing to return. Not because the pull is too strong, but because space-time has curved so much that every path leads inward. That's why we say, time here is almost standing still. For someone watching from far away, anything approaching a black hole slows and slows until it seems to stop. It's as if the universe has pressed the pause button. Imagine this. The traveler is drifting toward the dark lake. From where you stand, you see them moving more and more slowly. Their motions stretch out. The light reflected from them turns redder, weaker. Finally, they're nothing but a faint speck, hovering right at the edge of the lake, and you never see them go beyond. From your point of view, watching from afar, they have frozen in time. But for them, time still flows. They still step, they still feel, still think, still continue their journey inward. There is no moment of stopping. Two perspectives, two truths, existing side by side. That is one of the most wondrous things about black holes. They don't just bend light, they bend the way we understand time itself. Now let the space inside your mind expand a little. Imagine that the entire surface of that black lake is not a frightening darkness, but a doorway into the next chapter of the universe. A doorway made of space-time pulled tight. A doorway that doesn't reflect, doesn't glow, but somehow makes you want to step closer, just to see what happens when light disappears. Right at the edge of this doorway, space stretches like soft candy. Time flows so slowly you can almost feel each of its breaths. The universe becomes dense, deep, and solemn, so much so that every movement feels like it's being recorded in slow motion. Not frightening, but reverent, like stepping into a vast old cathedral, where every sound is held back by layers of stone. One fascinating thing is, black holes don't just swallow, they also remember. According to Hawking's ideas, all information that falls into a black hole doesn't vanish. It's stored on its surface, a vast cosmic hard drive. As if the black hole were keeping every story, every traveler, every ray of light that has crossed its threshold and never returned. No one knows exactly how it records that information. No one knows what it becomes inside that infinite darkness. But the thought that a black hole might be a library of the universe, holding secrets that no light can ever tell, is, in itself, enough to make us fall quiet for a moment and take one deeper breath. Now, gently close your eyes in your imagination. You are standing before that dark lake, not afraid, not hurried, just with the sense that you're standing before a secret too vast to put into words. The surface is so still that your own breathing seems to become part of the scene. Each time you breathe in, the darkness seems to tighten, like a small retreating wave. Each time you breathe out, the surface of the lake loosens, deepens, becomes more inviting. There are no sounds besides your own rhythm. No light except for a few faint rays bending into the dark. No time except the time you feel right now. Clear, soft, and flowing slowly like a thick stream. Just stay there for one more moment, and you'll understand why black holes, though so distant we could never touch them, still make the human mind tremble. They are not just places where space-time is twisted to its extreme. They are symbols of everything we don't yet understand, and may not understand for a very long time. A secret, a pause, a doorway. And now, as you gently step away from that region of shadow, we move towards something gentler. A phenomenon that doesn't make time stand still, but makes space-time itself ripple, like waves upon a night-dark lake. When you've just moved away from the shore of that dark lake, where time nearly came to a halt at the edge of a black hole, perhaps you can sense something very strange. Even though that darkness is so deep and so still, the world outside of it is not still at all. Like when you step out from a sealed, silent room onto the beach at night. Behind you is the dense weight of quiet, and in front of you are the thin, delicate rhythms of waves whispering at your feet. Not urgent, not loud, just small, steady waves, light as a lullaby sung by the ocean. The universe has waves like that too, and we call them gravitational waves. Try taking a very slow breath in, and let your shoulders soften. In the imagined night before you, picture space as a vast, endless lake, spreading out without direction, stretching on and on, as if it has no edge. There is no shore, no sky reflected on its surface. Only an invisible water, and yet you can feel every tiny ripple upon it, if you are patient enough to listen. Those ripples are not made by wind, not by stones falling in, not by any hand stirring the water. Most of us make this water. They are born from the most violent events the universe has ever witnessed. Two black holes spiraling into each other. Two neutron stars colliding. Huge celestial bodies embracing, then melting into a single new being. And yet, strangely enough, though their cause is fierce, the result is so subtle, it's almost unbelievable. Like throwing a gigantic rock into an infinite ocean, but the circles that spread out are as light as a child's breath. If you look more closely at that cosmic lake, you'll see, at a distance of billions of light years, a pair of black holes is slowly circling each other, like a silent waltz. At first, the space between them is wide, and their motion is smooth. But over time, longer than the entire span of our civilization, they draw closer, little by little. Then there comes a moment when space-time is curved so intensely it can no longer bear it, and they merge. That moment doesn't explode the way movies like to show it. It's more like the surface of the lake sinking in, quietly, deeply. A ringed wave spreading out and out and out, like a soft memory being released into the dark. And a part of that memory, even after traveling an impossible distance, still reaches you right now. It's so faint that if you placed your fingertip on the table, you'd never feel it. But the most sensitive instruments humanity has built have heard that knock, as if someone half a universe away had gently tapped on our door. Now let your imagination drift in another direction. You stand at the shore of this space-time lake. No wind, no cold, no scent, no sound, only a boundless vastness, as if you're standing where the world itself was first born. From the middle of the lake, a ring appears, then another, and another. They are in no hurry. They are not violent. They don't tear anything apart. They just touch, light as a fingertip tapping on a window at midnight. A quiet reminder that the universe is still alive, still breathing, still shifting in its own way. Gravitational waves are proof that the universe is not a static place, not a motionless rug. It is a river, a wide body of water where every movement, from the smallest star to the largest black hole, leaves its mark. Even right where you're lying, every grain of space-time beneath your body is trembling ever so slightly, because those waves are passing through you and you don't even know it. No pain, no disturbance, no trace left behind. They just pass through, like a breeze slipping across soft grass. Science says these waves change the length of things by an amount smaller than 1,000th of the diameter of an atom. But here, in our Sleepytail space, you can feel them in a different way. As slow, steady pulses as the heartbeat of the universe, echoing across billions of years. As a whisper the universe sends to every corner of existence. And as you listen, as your body sinks deeper into its own steady breathing, a slow question begins to drift in. If space-time can ripple like a lake, what happens when the lake itself, begins to swell, when the circles aren't just spreading from collisions, but the very surface of the lake is growing larger with every moment, that's when we slip into the next chapter, a chapter about the long, endless breadth of the universe, about expansion, about regions so distant that light has never yet arrived there. When the last ripples on the Spacetime lake fade away, you may feel a strange quiet settling over you. It's like the moment after a melody ends, when the final note still lingers in the air, so thin, so soft, and so deep. But if you're observant, you'll notice, no matter how smooth the lake seems, it is never completely still. There is another motion, wider and vaster, quietly unfolding beneath everything, slow as the breathing of a gigantic living being. That motion is the expansion of the universe. One long breath, a very long breath, that has been going on for 13.8 billion years. Try standing still for a moment and imagine that beneath your feet there is no ground, but instead a huge blanket woven from light, stardust, and the invisible threads of space-time. That blanket is not thick, not thin, but soft like a layer of mist. You can feel it lifting you, as if every step you take is placed upon a warm, breathing rhythm. Now look more closely. On the surface of that blanket are galaxy patterns pencil-like, spiraling swirls of light, clusters of stars, dark threads of interstellar dust, all of it stitched into designs no one could ever be patient enough to sew by hand. But the most wondrous thing is this: that blanket is slowly stretching, not snapping tight all at once, not yanked or torn, but expanding in a very gentle way, a soft unfolding, like the way you stretch your arms after a long day, or how dawn slowly draws back the curtain of night to wake the world. The galaxies, those glittering patterns on the blanket, begin to drift away from each other, not because they are running, but because the very fabric they rest on is growing. If you close your eyes, you may feel as though you're standing on a surface that's quietly spreading. No whirlpools, no waves, no obvious push. You're simply drifting very slowly, like lying in a small boat stranded on a calm ocean, seemingly motionless and yet being carried by something far larger than yourself. That is how we, all of us, are moving through this universe. No one is steering, no one is pulling, no one is in control. There is only expansion, the endless breath of space-time. And as that blanket stretches, something else is happening in silence. An invisible force, we call it dark energy, is seeping into every gap in the universe, urging that expansion to speed up. Like a breath that deepens over time. No one knows what dark energy truly is. No one can grasp its shape or structure. It does not shine. It does not absorb. It leaves behind no direct trace at all. Below is your full English translation, written exactly in the gentle sleep story tone you requested, soft, flowing, soothing, dreamlike, without cutting or adding anything. But like a caring mother standing quietly behind everything, offering her steady hands of support, dark energy stretches the blanket of the universe little by little, atom by atom, making it wide enough, soft enough, and vast enough for every galaxy to drift without bumping into each other too often. If you open your eyes inside this imagined scene, you'll see galaxies drifting apart like paper lanterns released into the night sky. No hurry. No panic, just a dance that lasts billions of years, gentle, patient, and breathtaking to the point of silence. The farthest galaxies move away from us so quickly that their light stretches into deep red and then stretches even further, almost disappearing. But even in that disappearance, there is something beautifully human. Each ray of light traveled billions of years just to reach our eyes, like a message whispered from ancient times. wandering through the mist of space-time. And then, a thought arrives, soft as a breath. If the universe can expand, does it have a boundary? It's like asking, if the blanket keeps stretching, how big will the bedroom become? Science tells us we still don't know the true shape of the universe. Perhaps it is flat, like a lake. Perhaps curved, like the surface of a sphere. Or perhaps it is something stranger still. Something the human mind has not yet grown soft enough to imagine. But in the gentle, sleepy space of tonight, you only need to picture this. The universe is a blanket with no corners. No one wove it, no one is holding it. It expands by instinct, quietly, evenly, and forever. Now take a moment to look back at yourself, standing on that blanket. You are not as small as you think. You are drifting with the galaxies. Your breath is moving with the breath of the universe. Every heartbeat you carry is a tiny piece of that vast, unfolding tide. As you stand there, inside this endless expansion, you might notice something. You have never truly been still. You have always been part of the widening. Part of that long, eternal breath. In this moment, as the universe's blanket continues to unfurl, as galaxies glide farther away, as light keeps sending us small messages from the distant past, allow yourself to soften a little more. Let your body loosen like silk. Let your mind drift with this great expansion. And when you are ready, we'll step into the final part. The part where space-time gently wraps its fabric around you and whispers a last lullaby meant only for your sleep. And as the endless breath of space-time continues to expand before your eyes, a very thin, very quiet moment appears, like a single leaf gliding sideways across an autumn lake. That moment feels like an invitation. A soft hand pulling back the curtain of the universe, opening the path to the final chapter of this journey. A chapter not just for reflection, but for you to truly rest. Because after witnessing the universe breathe, after walking through ribbons of time, after listening to the soft waves of space-time and watching galaxies drift away like floating lanterns, your heart deserves a place to rest. A place where space and time both seem to pause, just for you. Imagine stepping onto a tiny boat, so light that a single sigh of wind could carry it. This boat isn't made of wood nor metal. It is woven from light. Threads of brightness, thin as silk, soft as night mist. You place your hand on its edge, and you feel a strange warmth. Not the warmth of fire, nor of the sun. It is the warmth of the universe itself, gathered from billions of years of starlight and breath. The boat begins to drift, gently, as though the entire cosmos is holding it in both of its vast hands. You look up, and the night sky spreads open like a sheet of dark silk, stitched with millions of silver threads. The stars are no longer giant balls of fire. They feel like breaths, little points of light, inhaling and exhaling slowly, matching the exact rhythm of expansion you felt in Part 9. And then something strange happens. As the boat carries you deeper into the quiet, you begin to hear a very faint sound. Soft vibrations like the strings of a harp placed beside a window on a breezy night. It is not the sound of a planet or a star. It is the sound of space-time itself. The ripples you saw before, now you can hear them. Not loud, not clear, not close. Just a lullaby drifting in from the farthest edges of the universe. That sound feels like a goodnight wish from something larger than any dream you've ever had. In that stillness, your journey begins to float backward, through the universe's memory, a book slowly closing, yet each page still holding the faint scent of light. You remember the soft sheet of space-time you touched at the beginning. You remember how light bent, like brushstrokes, across the sky. You remember the ripples spreading like water rings and the long exhale of the universe in its endless twilight. And now, lying inside this boat of light, you understand something small but profound. You are not just an observer of the universe, you are a part of it. Your body is woven from stardust, your heartbeat tuned by the very first vibrations of time. Your breath carries the rhythm of eternal expansion. And your sleep is another resting note in the universe's grand symphony. The boat keeps drifting, so gently you sometimes don't know if you're moving or still. There is no wind, no waves, no movement except the quiet expansion of space-time carrying you along. If you place your hand on your chest once more, you'll feel your heartbeat slowing, rounder, softer, like a drum covered in a thin layer of snow. Let that heartbeat synchronize with the breathing of the universe. Breathe in like the cosmic blanket stretching wide. Breathe out as if you too are opening with it, softly, effortlessly. Now, the sky seems to draw closer, not because the boat is rising, but because your mind is becoming clearer, calmer, wider. The starlight no longer glares, it dims, softens as though wrapped in a warm mist. Bit by bit, like a hand smoothing the hair off your forehead, all your thoughts begin to loosen. Let go of the questions. Let go of the worries. Let go of every echo inside your heart. The universe does not need you to understand it tonight. It only wants to lull you to sleep. And then, as the boat tilts like one last breath at the end of the day, your eyelids grow heavy, not from exhaustion, but from safety, from being held, from returning to a place far away, yet deeply familiar, the place where everything began. Let your eyes close. Let space-time drape a soft, invisible blanket over your shoulders. Let the stars whisper quietly as they guide you toward the sleep you deserve. Tonight, the universe will watch over your dreams. Gently, deeply, warmly, as it did at the beginning of time, as it will until the very end. Sleep well.